In this video, I'm breaking down every mistake I made, every method I've tried, and everything that I did in the past 2 years of me training that eventually built my dream physique in 6 months. So what I mean by that is that it took me almost 2 years of making crazy mistakes that killed my gains and kept me small. But once I've been able to fix all of my mistakes and actually start using the right systems to gain weight, put on lean muscle, and systematically improve in the gym, that's when my progress just absolutely exploded in just 6 months. And if you're here, I'm guessing it's because you're skinny fat, struggling to gain weight, struggling with a small appetite, having fast metabolism, and you're just not quite sure how you should be eating, training, and staying consistent. If that's not you, click off this video because this won't be of help to you. But if it is you, then watch till the end because I'll be breaking down all of that so that by the end of this video, you are armed with everything you need to know to build your dream physique. Now, before I go into all that, who am I and why listen to me? My name is Jaden, and all my life, I've been the skinny ass kid. My clothes never fit right, I was constantly self-conscious about my physique, and I hated what I saw in the mirror. After reaching college and moving from Taiwan to the US, I found that everyone was so much bigger than I was, and that caused my mental health and confidence to plummet even further. When I first started out at 135 pounds, I found that there was a lot of contradicting knowledge on the internet when it came to skinny people building up their physique. It felt like everyone was focused on helping overweight people lose weight and build their physiques, so it made it really hard for me to know how to start. Now, over the course of 2 years, I've tried every single method under the sun to gain weight and build my physique. From dirty bulking, tracking calories, trying different training methods, to force feeding, optimizing recovery, and going carnivore. Everything there is on the internet, I've tried it. And to be honest with you, most, if not all, didn't really work out for me. Some helped me gain weight, but made me look and feel like shit. And some straight up made me worse than where I started. Eventually, I had to completely reinvent the wheel and find something that worked for me. After throwing everything I thought I knew out the window and started from scratch, I've built a sustainable way for me to put on weight and build lean muscle without force feeding, without bulking, and without me needing to restart my progress every couple of weeks. And in a matter of 6 months, I was able to make my way up to 170 pounds and finally build a physique that I was proud of. And now I'm on a mission to serve all the skinny dudes on this planet by helping you all and giving you access to the information that would have saved me years of walking down the wrong road. So without further ado, here's a breakdown of everything that I will go over in this video. Before everything else, I'll go through the mindset shift that allowed me to actually push out my ego and the belief that I thought I knew everything. Because simply, what I knew back then did not get me where I wanted to go. And that's something I know a lot of you struggle with as well. Then I'll go through what actually goes into effective training. A lot of people will think that hypertrophy training is the end-all be-all, but that's simply not the case. So if you really want to make progress in the gym, then you need to listen to what I'm about to say in this section. Next, I'll go over some misconceptions of nutrition and supplements and give you the nutrition method that actually allowed me to put on weight consistently without putting on excess fat, force feeding, or feeling like shit. Once you've understood you need a mindset shift, once you have the right nutrition and training strategy, lastly, to tie everything together, you need a way to hold yourself accountable and keep yourself consistent through the thick and thin. I can't promise you won't get injured or fall sick over the next 6 months, so you need some way to take you through those ruts and see success over the long run. I'll add timestamps for each section of this video so that it's easy for you to skip ahead or hop to sections that you think will help you out more. But obviously, if you truly want to succeed, it's important for you to watch every single section of this video, because I guarantee you'll find something new or something that you've done wrong in the past. With that being said, let's hop into mindset shift. The first step for all of this to work is humility and to place your ego aside. Having an ego isn't a bad thing, truly. You need an ego to thrive in this world, but you have to know your ego as of now and the belief that you know everything is causing you to stay stuck at where you are. It's simple. What you have been doing in the past hasn't been working out for you. And if you truly still believe that you know and have what it takes for you to build your dream physique, then why are you still watching this video? As you watch this video, have an open mind, be open to new knowledge, and accept the fact that you will be wrong. And to preface all this, I try to keep 99% of everything I say as close to science-based as possible. But the fact is, from my personal experience, you simply won't be able to make as much gains as you can if you follow strictly everything science tells you. Because simply, there's not a lot of science research geared specifically weighted towards skinny guys. On top of that, science hasn't always been right. Even the most modern science studies have been debunked to be wrong. So don't base everything off complete science. And I don't want to see any of you in the comments going, science this and science that. Put your ego aside and listen with an open heart and open mind, because I won't lie to you in this video. Everything that I tell you is based off of what I found has worked for me, and I am living proof of that. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, next I'm going over setting the proper expectation. For the longest time, I've been the biggest proponent of dirty bulking because I was ignorant and I thought that with my fast metabolism, I will never get fat. And also because I wanted to see results fast, and seeing my weight go up day by day on the scale from dirty bulking made me believe that I was heading in the right direction. But that was a misconception because most of what I put on was fat, and dirty bulking and eating 5,000 plus calories a day just ruined my health and physique. So go into the next 6 months with the expectation that you're going to see results, but definitely not as fast as you would have imagined. It's gonna become a mental game at one point, but you have to learn to push past that and start looking at long-term progress. So put your ego aside, be ready to learn new things, and have good expectations. Once you have those, it's time to move into the fun part, training. Training as a skinny guy can be daunting at first. There's a lot of information online that simply doesn't apply to you. Is cardio required? Do I need to have a gym? What's the best training split, etc.? And that's not even the hardest part. I know a lot of you also feel like going to the gym is scary. You're scared that people will judge. You're scared that you're doing something wrong and someone behind you is secretly laughing at you for your terrible form. Maybe you're scared to go to the gym, maybe not. But one thing I know is for certain, you need to get started, and get started as soon as possible. It's the only path that's gonna get you somewhere, so don't wait. Now, when it comes to the actual training, I'll break down the basics. You and I are going to the gym for one thing, muscle adaptation through resistance training. We're going to the gym and lifting weights because we want to force our muscles to adapt to increased resistance. And this causes muscle growth, hypertrophy, and strength increases, to name a few adaptations. If your goal as a skinny guy is to gain weight and put on more muscle, then we'll be putting our primary focus on resistance training, meaning lifting progressively heavier weights, and this can come from a few forms: hypertrophy training, strength training, and functional training, to name a few. Now, with our focus on building more muscle, we will place more focus on hypertrophy training and strength training. If, say for instance, you're a basketball player, football player, and you also want to improve your performance on the court, then you'd also incorporate sport-specific training to aid you in your sport. But that's not something I'll get into this video. If you need personalized guidance on sport-specific training on top of gaining weight and muscle, hop over to Instagram and DM me the word Zenith to apply for my personal training program, where I can help you specifically moving forward. But regardless, let's break down what hypertrophy and strength training entails, how they're different, how they're similar, and more importantly, why having both in your training is extremely crucial. Hypertrophy training is the most commonly known and used method of resistance training, where you're training with a focus of hypertrophy or muscle size. The traditional way of hypertrophy training revolves around higher rep ranges, usually 8 to 15 reps depending on the muscle group, lifting moderately challenging weights and progressive overloading. Strength training, on the other hand, places less emphasis on the growth of your muscle size and more on the strength or force production that your muscles are able to produce. The training method for strength usually entails lower rep ranges compared to hypertrophy in the ranges of 1 to 8 reps, and focuses more on lifting as heavy as possible safely, whilst progressive overloading to increase your strength. So if I'm training to build more muscle, then why do I need both? There are 3 reasons why, and also why, even though you're training consistently, you're not seeing progress. First is what's called periodization. Basically, over time your muscles get used to a method of training and ceases to progressively adapt. No new adaptation means no continuous muscle growth, and in order to combat your muscles plateauing and not making further adaptations, we can switch between strength and hypertrophy training through program phases in order to continuously introduce new stimulus to your muscles and encourage adaptation. Second, recent new studies show, and also through my personal anecdote, show that strength training, or at least lower rep range, higher weight training style, seems to build more muscle compared to a traditional hypertrophy approach. Now, don't mark my words there because that's not fully based off of science, but my guess is because with lower rep, higher weight stuff, you're putting your muscles under more stress with higher intensity, which causes higher muscle adaptation compared to the traditional hypertrophy. And also, just continuously focusing on using heavier weights, you naturally tend to push yourself harder compared to just moderately intense weights focusing on hitting a specific rep range. And that is just my educated guess. I'm not 100% certain with the exact science behind it, and no one is, but I know it works. So incorporating both hypertrophy training and strength training over time can prove to be more beneficial. Last but not least, with strength usually comes muscle growth and size. So even though you won't look like a bodybuilding competitor, by training for strength, you will still look jacked and have an aesthetic physique, and strength is simply more functional. So if I were a basketball player, more strength is never a bad thing on court. To wrap up, that's the difference between strength and hypertrophy and why having both of them in your training plan is important. After establishing that, let's actually dive into how to use that knowledge to create a training plan that's meant to help you put on more muscle. Remember a bit earlier when I used the word phases? So basically you want to structure your training in phases. One phase of your training can last anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks depending on how specifically you want to train and your progress. For example, a really simple 12-week training program can look like 4 weeks of foundation phase for if you're a beginner to get familiar with movement patterns and help with learning correct form and technique. 4 weeks of strength phase to start building up a solid base of strength, and 4 weeks of hypertrophy where you're really pushing for muscle hypertrophy in order to get your muscles to look bigger. How I do it for my clients in Zenith Academy is have a similar structure, but the length of each phase depends on the onboarding call and the training experience each client has, so that each phase can range differently in length depending on the client's training experience. Rate of progress. If a client improves faster, of course we're gonna have to hop in and adjust the training a bit to encourage continuous progress without plateauing. So even though the example I gave is a solid place to start, just know that it doesn't apply to every person. And having that personalized guidance and that personalized touch from an experienced coach is what's going to allow you to improve as fast as possible in a short period of time. So if you want to program your own training program, I'd recommend setting it up to be around 12 to 16 weeks to really see a visible before and after transformation. Then set up how many phases you want, how many weeks you want each phase to be, and once that's done, we have the structure of our training plan. Now that you have your structure, we want to actually fill it in training so that you have a plan to train with, not just the structure. This is important because without a proper training plan, you're wasting a lot of potential. If you're someone who just goes and trains whenever you feel like it and without a training plan, then it's easy to see why you're not making consistent progress. With a rigid training plan that shows you at a glance how many times you need to train per week and what you need to train on a particular day, not only makes it easier for you to follow, it gives you no room for error, ensuring that you do what's necessary when it's necessary. Outside of that, it allows you a proper way of tracking your workouts and weights so that you can progressive overload week over week without guessing how much weight to use each week. So how do you do all that? Well, first you have to establish how many days a week you can train without it becoming a big issue that stops you from going consistently. And that also determines the workout split that you will use. If you only have 2 days a week to train, I'd recommend full body splits for the 2 days. If you have 3 days, then I'd recommend a push-pull leg split. If you have 4 days, which is the ideal situation, I'd recommend an upper-lower split. If you have 5 days, I'd recommend an upper-lower split with a dedicated day for either light cardio or working on a lagging body part, for example, arms. Anything over 5 days, I would just recommend you to take rest days and recover properly. Now with that established, everything is slowly falling into place. All that's left for you is to program each specific workout. Now I won't be able to go through every single different split and how to program them, but with that being said, I will be breaking down how I program a 4-day upper-lower split for my clients and myself. For context, I recommend all my clients to train 4 times a week with an upper-lower split because 1, you get to train every single muscle group at least twice per week. 2, you leave 3 full days for recovery, and it's just the best split that I've found that yields the most results. And it's also the split that I personally run. So how do you actually program it? You're gonna have 4 workouts per week: upper A, lower A, upper B, and lower B. And for every workout, I keep it under 45 minutes. With that in mind, a basic way to program the upper body days is to have 2 push exercises and 2 pull exercises, a tricep exercise and a bicep exercise, and 1 side delt exercise to finish off. For a basic lower body day, you'd have 1 compound exercise like squats or deadlifts, 1 exercise for the quads, 1 for glutes, superset adduction and abduction exercises, and end off with calves to cover all ground. And I'll attach a sample workout on screen and in the description as well for you to follow or base your training off of. And for the different phases, you can search out exercises and rep ranges to make each exercise either more hypertrophy focused or more strength focused. Of course, there are nuances to how you'd switch things up. But for a starter, you can use this format to program your training. Once that's done, you have a finished workout plan that you can use to train for the next 12 to 16 weeks. And now you may be asking, why 12 to 16 weeks? If you're seriously training hard in the gym every time you go, you run the risk of overtraining. This happens when you continuously push your body hard over time. Your central nervous system gets fatigued, leading to systematic fatigue throughout your body. Your body slows down recovery and your testosterone levels slowly decrease. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing since you always want to be training hard, but that's why at the end of every 12 to 16 week plan, you usually have what's called a deload week. It's basically a week where you cut your training volume and intensity by half and allow your body to fully rest and recover so that your central nervous system and hormone levels return to level before starting your next training plan. And that's all you have to know on a high level about training. To end off the training segment, here are some pro tips from me. 1. Download a workout log. I recommend Strength. The app is literally named Strength. You can use it to easily track, manage, and log your workouts for progressive overloading. 2. Train till failure and always push and train harder than last time. Last but not least, be safe and warm up so that you don't get hurt and need to restart. And of course, if you want this entire training system personalized for you and your needs so that you don't need to stress over whether or not you're doing the right things, you can always DM me on Instagram with the word Zenith to apply for my training program called Zenith Academy, where I'll do all of this for you, make it personalized, and more. Next, let's talk about how to eat. Eating or nutrition is probably the hardest part for most of us skinny guys. And this is what I call the skinny guy starter pack. Once born, you're equipped with the small appetite debuff. To go alongside it, you get access to the fast metabolism perk, and these two can single-handedly stop you from ever getting to your dream physique. On top of that, if you naturally perform other sports like basketball in my example, it makes it extremely hard for you to reach your calorie goals for gaining weight. So how did I solve these issues for myself in order to gain weight? First, before going into the practicals, let's talk about the mindset behind our so-called curse. Even though it may seem like we are completely screwed over by our skinny guy metabolisms and it's a disadvantage, actually not. And if you continue to think that way, you will forever subconsciously limit yourself to your current situation. Always blame your small appetite and fast metabolism for your downfall. What I did instead was turn that belief on its head. Rather than seeing it as a disadvantage, I look at it as an advantage. The first advantage we have is we almost rarely get fat or put on a lot of fat. Even for me, at my worst, I was around 15% body fat, and that's a percentage that the majority of the planet will never reach even after consistent training. On top of that, once we do build our dream physique, it takes very little for us to maintain that physique year-round. Simply, the winter bulk and summer cut doesn't necessarily apply to us because we remain shredded year-round. So with that being said, those are the advantages we as skinny guys have that nobody else has. So use it to your advantage rather than look at it as a disadvantage that's forever stopping you. Next, let's get into the technicals of how to eat as a skinny guy. I want to start off with this. Do not ever go on a dirty bulk. It's just not sustainable and not worth it. Sure, you can gain a lot of weight in a short amount of time, but like I said before, that's not weight that will help you. Instead, from all the different methods of eating, what I've found works best for me and my other students is main gaining. Main gaining or lean bulking is a way of eating in a caloric surplus that maximizes lean muscle growth over time and minimizes excess fat growth. With maintaining, although your weight on the scale increases slowly, it's more sustainable, allowing you to put on weight consistently. On top of that, it ensures that you are putting on lean muscle rather than putting on unwanted fat. Although these are great benefits of maintaining, the primary reason that I use it is because it allows me to eat at a caloric surplus consistently so that I do put on weight over time. Because we have smaller appetites, eating at a 500 to 1000 plus calorie surplus is very, very hard to sustain. You eat at that surplus for a week and suddenly you drop off and lose your entire appetite. So rather than have to fail and retry over and over again and being stuck at the same weight, I used maintaining in order to push past that plateau. Now, the way you actually eat for maintaining is pretty simple. First, you want to identify your maintenance calories. This can be done through a TDEE calculator or an in-body machine to find an estimate. Then, using that estimate, you want to add 100 calories to that to identify your maintaining calories. After you found that, you want to eat at that level for a few days and see whether or not you're going up in weight. If you aren't, then increase the surplus. Next, once you've identified your calorie goal, you then want to determine how you will actually intake those calories, aka your macro distribution. First, you want to identify your protein intake, which is simply 1 gram per pound of body weight. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, so you can deduct that from your calorie goal. Next, you want 20% of your total calories to come from fat, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So with some simple math, you can find that. Now, for the rest of the remainder of the calories, you want all that to come from carbs. After establishing your macro distributions, it's as simple as planning your meals with your macro distribution in mind. Or you can either have a personal nutritionist, which is what I do with all my clients, to create a meal plan that's fit for your macro needs. If you're also lazy, you can also just plug your macro distributions into ChatGPT and have it generate a meal plan for you. Do I eat with a meal plan? Well, no. Because over time, as you get more attuned to your body and nutrition, you can actually stray away from your meal plans and eat anything you want by eyeballing your macro distribution. Is this the most effective way to maintain? Absolutely not. But like I said, not needing to track macros with an app is a perk of being a skinny guy. And I want to be able to eat what I want and when I want. So once you've reached your dream physique, you're more than welcome to eat without a structured meal plan. Now, on to the most important part of this process that nobody ever tells you is you have to redo all these steps every 2 to 4 weeks, because as you put on more muscle, your body naturally tends to burn more energy to sustain the new muscle, meaning you need more calories to stay in a surplus. So every 2 weeks, my in-house nutritionist adjusts the macros and caloric needs for my clients so that they know what they need to eat. Along with that comes meal plan adjustments and new recipes so that they're never sick of eating the same things. So if you want your own nutritionist to handle all of your nutrition for you, again, it's offered in my training program, and you can DM me Zenith on Instagram to learn more and apply for my training program. That's all about nutrition. Let's move into the final section of the video, and perhaps the most important, accountability. Without accountability, without consistency, you won't get anywhere with training or nutrition. The reason you failed up till now is because 1, you didn't have the proper plan, and 2, you didn't have the consistency. Now that you do have the plan, let's keep at it consistently. To do that, you need accountability and support. Whether that's through a gym partner, someone there pushing you, or you just need to be disciplined in yourself. To hold yourself accountable, you need to have a good reason of why you even started training in the first place. If it's just because you want to get bigger, then you'll most likely fail because that's not a strong enough reason for you to push through the tough times. All my clients decided to work with me because they had a strong reason of why they needed to get into better shape. That can be for their family because they've been constantly bullied in the past, or they're just sick of themselves looking skinny and frail. So you need to have a good reason that will pull you through the long run. For me, it was because I knew I was meant for more and that I had the talents to build a great physique, and I didn't want that to go to waste. On top of that, I wanted to be the role model to my 3 younger brothers and act as someone who can do it if I put my mind to it. So before using any accountability tactics, understand why you're starting in the first place. It doesn't have to be as grandiose as changing the fate of your entire bloodline, but it has to be something that you actually believe in yourself and truly want to act upon. Next, for the practicals of accountability, I would set up a success roadmap for yourself. It's basically a checklist of the inputs that you're supposed to be doing and hitting every week. And by performing the things on the roadmap, it guarantees you results at the end of it all. This allows you to have a tangible checklist to follow so that you don't feel lost along the way. And it allows you to see at a glance whether or not you're doing doing enough. Outside of the success roadmap, the biggest thing for keeping yourself accountable is still the discipline that you need to build up. Understanding the fact that what you're doing is for your own good and that no one is there to force you to do anything is powerful, and is what will guarantee you success in the long run. I can say all I want about accountability, I can share you all the practical tips under the sun, but if you don't have the discipline to take action upon them, eventually everything will just fall apart. So I'll leave you with that. And that's all for this video. That was an in-depth guide for my mindset shift, training, nutrition, and accountability, and everything I did in order to reach where I am today. I truly hope that helped out, and be sure to like and subscribe because I put in a lot of work to make this video as educational and valuable as possible for you all. And as always, if you want one-on-one guidance fit for your needs, DM me Zenith on Instagram to apply for my training program, Zenith Academy. And that's all. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.